Okay, so I'm going to go through the first page of the Budget Busters from Friday, just to kind of make sure you understand all the vocabulary before we walk into the actual life project. This is a flat tax, and I know Mr. P taught you that the U.S. is not a flat tax, and so we're going to keep it as a flat tax just for simplicity's sake. So when this person has $65,000 as their annual salary, instead of looking at the different amounts and taxing them at different brackets, we're just going to tax that entire $65,000 at a 28% tax rate. And so a lot of this is percentages today, and I'm going to work with my phone calculator just to kind of help you guys out, assuming that you don't have a TI-84. So to figure out the tax rate of 28%, I'm going to do 0.28 times 65,000. And that means it's going to be 18,200. So that is the amount of taxes being taken out of DeAndre's yearly salary. The net annual income is what he gets after taxes. So before taxes, it's called gross. After taxes, it's called net. So he's got to take that 65,000 and he's got to subtract the 18,200, which means he only gets to keep $46,800 of his salary. So that's for 1 year. The next part asks you for the net monthly income. So that's how much he gets after taxes. So you're going to divide that by 12 because there's 12 months in a year. So he gets $3,900 a month. And now there's two sides to this. There is a projected side and there is an actual side. And the projected side is what he thinks will happen, and the actual side is what actually happened. And so most people go to the actual side first just because they see the table. And so we'll start there. So we have our 3,900, and we need to figure out the percent that 1,200 is of 3,900. So in my calculator, if I take 1,200 divided by 3,900, that will get me a percent. So it will get me a 0.308 if I round appropriately, which is a 30.8%. So I'm going to do the decimal and I'm going to do the percent just so you kind of have both of them working with you. The percent is what we talk about in the real world, and the decimal is what we work with when we're doing math problems or when we're doing calculations. So I'm going to clear it, and I will do 950 divided by the same number, 3,900, and that is 0.244 or 24.4%. So there's only two decimal spaces difference between the decimal and the percent. When I do 490, I get 0.126, so that's 12.6%. This is an even 0.15, which is 15%. $390 is a 0.1, which is 10%. So that's 0.073 or 7.3%. So to go to a percent, you move it 2 decimals to the right. To turn it into a decimal for mathematical calculations, you go 2 decimals to the left. So that is what he actually, those are the percentages that he actually had when he was doing his budget. Now what he thought was going to happen is over here on the projected side. And so when we look at this pie chart, what they want us to do is they want us to take the percentages in the pie chart and fill out the amounts over here. And so I'm going to start with housing. Housing was 30%. So as a decimal, it is 0.3. So I'm going to take 0.3 and times it by his net, which was $3,900. So he thought he was going to spend $1,170 on his housing. And I'm going to keep going. For groceries, he thought it'd be 20%, which is 0.2. So I'm going to do 3,900 times 0.2, and that's $780. For transportation, he thought he'd do 15%, which is 0.15. So I'm going to times this by 0.15. So it's $585. Debt, he thought was going to be 15%, and that's the same as the one right above it, so I know it's still $585. Church, he thought was going to be $390. Or I'm sorry, church he thought was going to be 10%, which is 0.1, and so the actual is $390, and that matches the projected. And the savings is the exact same 0.1, so that's going to be another $390. So what he has is he has his actual amounts and what he thought he was going to spend. Now, difference, the way that this chart is written, many people might do something like, let's clear this. Some people would do like 1,200 minus 1,170. And so the difference is 30. But typically, when you're in math and you think of a difference of 30, you would think that DeAndre came out, since it's a positive 30, you would think that he came out $30 ahead. But if you look at it, he thought he was going to spend $1,170, and he actually spent $1,200. So he's actually $30 in the hole. So we're going to reverse the order that we do this. So we're going to do projected minus the actual, just to kind of give us a better idea. So when we do, he thought he was going to spend $780, but he actually spent $950 on groceries. So he's $170 in the hole. He thought he was going to spend $585 on transportation, but he actually spent $490. So he has an extra $95 left over. Now for debt, he ended up even, and for church, he ended up even. And he wanted to save $390, but he actually saved $285. So he actually has an extra $105. And so I'm going to combine these just to make sure that he stayed even. So if I do negative 30 minus 170 plus 95 plus 105, I get 0, which means that overall on his budget he balanced out. So overall he had a balance of 0, so he didn't go into more debt. He might not have done everything he wanted to, and some things might have costed different amounts, but overall he did not spend more money than he had. So then you can go through and you can answer these questions. How well is he adhering to his budget? Are there any significant differences? And this is kind of where you make a judgment call as to how well he's adhering. Some people might say that because he ended up at 0, he didn't go over his budget, but if you look at the specific categories, some people might say he's not adhering very well. So that's a judgment call on your behalf. And then you can kind of talk about saving money for his children's college education. And so that's the first page, and so that will leave you to be able to do the next couple pages on Bella, Sophia, and Rishi. And so you can work on those. And just to review and to summarize, the amount of taxes is how much is taken out each year. That is a percent of your gross salary. Gross is what you have before taxes. Net is what you have after taxes. Projected is what he thought would happen. Actual is what actually happened. When we do the difference, we're going to do projected minus actual. Projected minus the actual to get the difference. That way, negative 30 means he was in the whole 30. And have fun on the next couple pages.